Our top stories this week. In Maryland, in response to the recent free-range kids fiasco, officials decide that letting kids walk home or play alone is not neglect. In Los Angeles, California, the foster care system is changing to use more kinship placements, but is not offering any support to the relatives who they're using. California's Orange County watchdog is complaining about the number of dropped calls to the child abuse hotline, which they're blaming on long wait times due to heavy call volumes without enough staff to work them. In child welfare, officials in Oregon are failing to keep foster kids safe and are keeping it hidden from the public. In Australia, a judge is warning against the government's new policy of fast-tracking the adoptions of foster kids who could eventually go home, while Australia's Aboriginal groups are distressed at the high rate of Indigenous children being snatched from their homes. In Canada, Manitoba's First Nations advocates say that kids in foster care and their families are not treated as human, and meanwhile less than one-third of Manitoba's foster kids are even graduating high school. In Pennsylvania, 2 CPS agents are quitting their jobs in light of a grand jury report that criticizes the Children and Youth Agency. A state committee from Pennsylvania is considering making changes to a law requiring background checks for people who work with children because it has become a major burden on organizations that now have to cut programs because of fewer volunteers. In Michigan, the state Senate passes a bill allowing faith-based adoption agencies to reject lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgendered parents, and Governor Rick Snyder signed it into law. In New York, a 4-year-old child was recaptured after her real mother snatched her back from her foster home. In Ohio, a foster mother was found guilty of child abuse after breaking a 2-month-old's leg. The Connecticut Supreme Court rules that the firing of a CPS agent who killed her own foster child was perfectly justified. And in Virginia, a former foster dad who has been charged with the murder of a 1-year-old foster child has been granted bond. A worker at a New York City group home was arrested for doctoring the books to show he was keeping an eye on things the night 3 kids slipped out and raped a woman. In Rhode Island, a man was arrested for luring a 14-year-old girl from her group home to work as a prostitute. In England, a sick pervert was arrested for sexually abusing 2 underage girls while they were in foster care. And the Duggar family from TLC's 19 Kids and Counting have apparently resisted a new investigation by Child Protective Services after new information about their son molesting his sisters comes to light. In Connecticut, the state appellate court ruled that the transfer of a transgendered teenager into an adult male prison was improper. In Florida, a baby who disappeared with her mother to try to keep her safe from child-stealing CPS agents is going to have to stay in foster care for a while longer while they make the woman jump through more and more hoops. A group of grandparents from Montana are rallying against the child protective industry, saying that CPS are putting their children in the wrong hands. In Minnesota, an American Indian couple is suing to allow a white family to adopt their baby and keep the adoption hidden from the tribe. And finally, tonight, in England, a social worker who falsely claimed that a woman made threats to kill herself and her kids was suspended for 12 months at a disciplinary hearing. For these stories and all the latest dirt on the child protective industry, visit www.legallykidnapped.com. And until next week, this is Baby LK, over and out.